My guest today is Mitch Carson, celebrated professional speaker and closer who has spoken on stages in 63 countries and produced over 2,000 live events in 19 countries. Welcome, Mitch.
Well, thanks for having me. I feel privileged to be here, Rosemary.
Of course, I'm privileged to have you. Before we get into what you do, could you tell us who is Mitch Carson?
He's this extremely handsome man that is found that way by everybody with hidden optics. So there we go. No, I'm just a man who has experienced life. I recently turned 64, and I am not shamed about my age. It is what it is. Nobody can fight gravity and age. I mean, maybe and avoid taxes in the U.S. Not possible. Along this journey, I've discovered a lot. And I don't want to be the guy that's sitting in a rocking chair with a gray beard, rocking back and forth, smoking a pipe. That's not the point of the show. It's to dispense and pay it forward what I have been so freely given and gifted in my life. I've had quite a career. I could retire right now, and frankly, I did retire about 8 years ago for about 3 years. No, 10 years ago for 3 years. And then I've been back working I forgot about time in the pandemic where we were all just sitting in quicksand. After retiring, I realized how bored I was. And when the mind starts to decline, so does the body. So I kicked myself back into work and have not looked back since. I'm not retiring. And my role today is a lot different than it was in my 30s and 40s. It's now, of course, I work. There's a scorecard about your income based on the production you provide and the value you provide. And I get greater value today. And I didn't understand this when I was younger. I think it comes with maturity and then a shift in mindset where it's nice to give to people who don't know the path yet. And the old lion likes to give. And it's my privilege to be able to do so, that I have reached a certain level in my life, in both my personal life and career, that I am able to lay a roadmap out for those that are interested in learning.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for paving the way and for being, willing to generously give of your time. I appreciate you. Yes, for sure. Okay. So you are a professional speaker and we're in a podcast, obviously. Is a podcaster considered a professional speaker?
Yes and no. There are various grades of podcasters. Let me give you an example. I did an interview a few weeks ago. I've been doing all these guest appearances before I start my own podcast, which starts next week. All these guest appearances to learn from different hosts, because this is a new platform for me. My background is network television. I know that very well. That's a different career track. This can be very professional. And it can also not be very professional. I had a young man who sent me the link 2 minutes before the interview time. And both my assistant and I were, where's the link? Where's the link? We have this scheduled. There were no lead up emails, nothing. Couldn't put it on the schedule because there was just a time that he set. So I got the link 2 minutes after the interview time. I almost canceled out because it wasn't there. He was lying on his side on his bed with earbuds, and I heard sirens and traffic in the background. And he had a big booger coming out of his right nostril. He was lying on his right side, and it was quite the visual. And he just launched in with questions. No introduction, no professionalism. The audio was terrible. He had I don't want to say the country because that might sound racist or what. He had a very strong ethnic accent. I couldn't understand him beyond 50% of the words. And then when I asked, can you repeat that? He started to get agitated because I didn't understand him. Now, English is my native language. It's not his. That's fine. Don't get agitated because I can't understand you. Whose responsibility is it? So we didn't start off on a very good foot. And I said, where are you calling in from? Because that's none of your business. Like, whoa. Whoa. I asked the questions here. He said that. And he was all of maybe 22 years old.
Wow.
That was not a good start. The sound was off. He was using his phone as the interview platform, not a webcam, not a camera, and it was blurry. He probably dropped it, didn't clean every box was ticked incorrectly. I pray he never uses that interview. Because about halfway through, I said that he was asking questions only about what could help his business or a client that he was managing. Oh, suppose you had this type of a client. And he was asking for consulting, how to get publicity for his client. Well, can you be specific, or can you find? I said, are you asking for the audience, or are you asking for your client that you're handling? It was obvious what he was doing. And he said, I asked the questions here. And I said, and I am going to bow out. Thank you for inviting me. Goodbye. So that was an extreme example of what not to do. He was disrespectful, was not professional, didn't have professional equipment. His background was his pillow, and there were sirens going on, and I could hear donkeys out on the street. It was awful, awful. And then you go to the other extreme where people are prepared, are using a professional platform. We're recording in Riverside, which obviously you've invested the time. You know what you're doing. You're dressed nicely, and
Thank you.
you're prepared. You're prepared for this interview. Thank you for being professional and not having donkeys honk in the background.
Okay. I can't promise you a dog won't bark though. Because
Well, that's okay. Dogs and honkies. Donkeys, I don't mind either. The honking horns, that was annoying. The traffic out on the street and the sirens. Okay, this is colorful, but not professional.
Okay.
So there's the answer.
I I appreciate that, and that's the lesson in how not to be a podcast host, right?
Oh my gosh, he had no business doing it, and his accent was so strong. I barely got 50%. I had to repeat it back so I understood what he was asking.
Well, I'm sorry you went through that.
Oh, no, it's cool.
And, yeah.
It's cool. It's all part of life. I can't regret the negative experiences, and I have to welcome those in order to have the positive ones to experience as well. Life isn't a bowl of cherries.
Yeah. Well, maybe, but there's a pit, right?
Yeah, there's a pit, right? Bingo, right? Perfect metaphor. Exactly. There's a pit. You better chew with caution. That's so true. There's a pit. There's a pit right and left. Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. We got to have fun, Rosemary.
Oh boy. Okay. So you're not only a professional speaker, but you also help individuals promote themselves through the media.
Yes.
Could you tell us what you do for your clients and how we can get in touch with you? Let's do that.
Sure. Let's say you're a speaker, podcast host, CEO, or an author who wants to elevate his or her brand to the next level. What's the ultimate media platform? Network television. Why do I say that? Not just because I'm a TV show, myself on NBC is where I air my show, Amazing Authorities. I'm piggybacking on the value of hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in brand enhancement that they've spent, those big corporate network television stations and studios, in building their recognized brand. Tonight, ABC television is broadcasting the presidential debate, which will be seen around the world, Kamala Harris and former President Trump. That network I use, and I get people on here in Las Vegas. ABC. The last time it was Fox. I think it was Fox. No, it was the CNN. CNN was one between Biden and Trump. CNN was a platform. I get people on. I had a show that ran 16 times in Manila, Philippines, on CNN Philippines. That was before the pandemic, but I get people on that for recognition. right now, if you talk about CNN and ABC, both stations that my clients have been featured on, I produce for them. So they're getting piggybacked into the same credible network that Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump are going to be aired tonight live. There's huge value there. Now, podcasting is tremendous. I respect it today. At one time, I didn't. Full transparency. But anybody can hang a shingle and say, hey, I'm a podcast host, I'm a podcast guest, and that's like big whoopee. Today, very different. Oh, I was a guest on Rosemary Francis' podcast. Awesome. How was that experience? Nice looking lady, wears a red dress. She saw the movie dressed in red, so she's wearing it for her show. Maybe that's her uniform. I don't know. It could be just Tuesday. Nonetheless, she's a professional podcaster, has X amount of episodes already under her belt, and it was my privilege to be on her show. And I'm saying that to you now, and I will say it after when I give you a review. You're accommodating. Those are the marks and the character traits I look for in a podcast host. And that came through when my assistant reviewed and looked, and she says, yes, she's a nice lady. She'll be good for you, and you'll be good for her. So there'll be a good match. So when you evaluate where you want to go, look at the host, see if you can envision a good chemistry between the host and you as a guest. That's step one. Then you have to get very clear about your message. Television, you have 2.5 minutes to 4 minutes, depending on the network and depending on the show. Usually lifestyle shows is where I get my clients featured. I guarantee coverage on television, provided that they all go through my media training. And then we do mock interviews, so my reputation remains intact when I'm able to pitch you and get you on TV, live television, as in live interviews. There is no redo, no retake. Hey, can I start over? No, it's live. This is TV. Podcasts, fortunately, most are recorded. Some have gone live today, and then they strip out the audio and upload it to iTunes, etc. Yet most are still recorded. That's the platform. It's different. Then you can listen to the audio where most podcast content is consumed today. Is there video footage? Sure. Is it blurred over into television? Not really. I mean, you can have a video component, which is great. Some people like to watch it. I do. I like video and audio. I want to have the choice. So I think podcasting is great today. And so is television. It's the ultimate way to elevate your brand quickly and piggyback on the logos and the credible proof of your coverage on these stations so you can rise up above the rest. Because otherwise you're in the sea of mediocrity and you look like every other fish. But today I'm interviewed by the lady in the red dress.
Oh, that's FYI, that's my favorite color. And
Got it.
You see, Rosemary is my middle name. So Rose, yeah.
And Marie, there you go. What does the J stand for?
Jennifer.
Okay. All
Yes.
right. Jennifer, Rosemary, Francis. Okay. So
Yes.
most people, okay. Well, thank you for having me here.
You're welcome. And you just made my day.
Well, it's free.
Thank you, Mitch. Okay. So we're in the podcasting space and independent podcasters. We probably don't see ourselves as, famous podcasters because we're just, carrying out our mission, so to speak.
Sure.
I mentor podcasters, so I've heard quite a bit of what, they're thinking and feeling. Can this type of exposure benefit podcasters? And is that why you do the training first, to make sure that they are prepared for that kind of exposure?
For television, it's necessary and I require it.
Okay.
For podcasting, I believe guesting on a podcast, also it's responsible for the guest to undergo listening finding good podcasts. Maybe it's the metric of high downloads based on who the guest was, or read and learn about how to be an effective guest. So you make yourself shine, the audience gets value, and the host shines. Add value
Yes.
to your host. And that's why I'm being interactive with you, because I'm your guest. So it's my privilege and responsibility to be respectful
Okay.
and to give back to you and any host that hosts me on their show. And that's just good human behavior and manners.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. And you told us that how you help us, but what are the best strategies for getting featured on major television? Let's say
I'll,
someone's listening and they want to do
okay,
that.
I'll
Yeah.
share a couple of ways that are quite easy and applicable for today. My
Okay.
answer might change in a year from now, yet there are some of the principles and strategies are timeless. I'll go through it.
Okay.
Right now, if you are to get on TV, get on a radio show, or write a current article for a major publication, what's going on right now in the world is a major change that will affect, it's called the U.S. presidential election. Who goes into office will have ripple effects around the world and the economies around the world. If you have an opinion about this major current event, express it, write it, have a different hook angle, submit that to the press. That might get you your 3 minutes of fame. Might get you. If it's a radio show, might get you 15 minutes of fame. If you have a new angle, because booking agents for shows are looking for unique. That's their job. That's their charge given to them by the show producers. They're looking for unique. If you've written a book about the topic, if you have a blog about the topic, if you've been featured on radio about the topic, and then you want to leverage that to get on TV, the timing is now. As I said, in a year from now, your opinion about the election will matter not.
Right.
The election's over. So you got to
Okay.
piggyback on what's happening right now. That's one strategy. The other is a trend. Right now, if you wrap your business, and for the last almost 2 years, when ChatGPT hit the market in November of 2022, if you wrap your business around anything AI, artificial intelligence, you will have a better possibility of getting booked on TV than if you don't use AI. What hasn't been AI'd is old, or might be mature category. For example, if you are an expert, you're in the coaching space, and you claim to know a lot about coaching leaders, hypothetical situations. You work with CEOs, CFOs, and senior management, C-level people in corporate America, corporate Japan, wherever it is. And you are looking to get traction out of that group. If you say, I'm a leadership coach for these people, how many people compete with you? Quite a few. If you are leadership incorporating the latest, greatest techniques with AI tools that'll shorten the time you have to spend with each of your underlings or people that are part of your organization, and this will effectively give you back 30% of your time to go to Jimmy's baseball team, I might have the attention of that C-suite executive, because everybody is looking for the latest, greatest shiny object in the
Okay.
AI space. Each week
Right.
I'm hearing, yo, you got to look at this platform. You have to do this. Oh, mate, this is so much fun. Australian friend gave me a suite of AI tools. You got to look at this. It's amazing. So much better than ChatGPT. Blah, 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 blah. And how do you go through, filter through all that noise? You have the solution.
Yeah.
There's a lot of noise in the market. You have the solution. It could be sales, could be operational efficiencies, could be how to use AI to have a better experience as a guest on a podcast, how to use AI to disseminate all your information faster and with less hassle and headache and money as a podcast host. You might be interested in hearing about that given what you do. Wrap AI around it. So that's a trending topic versus a short topic like the presidential election. And you're then what is called newsjacking. jacking yourself or piggybacking on the news of what's going on currently. I'll give you a personal example of success, me utilizing news for a good cause. In 2001, the world changed. 9/11. 9/11 happened. And while I was walking up my stairs at my office the next day, so it was on 9/12, I looked at a toilet paper roll that I had created with the IRS 1040 form, our tax code. And I thought, oh, that's where we ought to put Osama's face, right on our respective buttocks. So let's wipe out terrorism. So I created all of these toilet paper rolls with Osama bin Laden's face on it, wipe out terrorism. I then hired a publicist to help me get this out and disseminate my information via fax broadcast. Remember, we're going back 23 years. 23 years, almost to the day, because we're right around that time tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true.
23 years ago, I hired this woman in LA where I was living at that point. She said, Mitch, you must understand, I could take your money. It's $10,000 a month, which is her fee, which is pretty customary as a good publicist. But this is going to be over before we know it. I've been doing this. She was about ready to retire. An honorable lady. I have nothing but nice things to say about her. She said, you got 3 months max, 2 to 3 months, but I'll take your money for 2 months. And if you need a third, we'll talk about that then. Took 2 months of my money, gave her $20,000. She said, I'll get you on news all around the world. She delivered. She faxed out the press release because I was wiping out terrorism through toilet paper. I got interviewed by the Sydney Morning Herald, Reuters Worldwide Television, Fox Broadcast, KTLA LA, on and on and on, came to interview me about the way I was piggybacking on what was current, hot, emotional, exciting, but will go away.
Yeah.
Within 6 weeks, all the calls for the merchandise stopped. It was like overnight, they all got the memo, stopped buying, nobody's interested anymore. Life went back to the way we knew it with a new piece of scar tissue, pity, and my sympathies to all the victims and the families, but the world had to go back worlding.
Yes.
It had to get back. It needed that reset. It's not any different than the pandemic. Everything was hot during the pandemic. Now that got extended way beyond what we anticipated. Nobody knew except the people that created it. That's another conspiracy conversation. But the 9/11 experience, I used the profits to give to the American Red Cross. That was my intention. And I got tremendous traction out of the news that was short-lived. It was 6 weeks, finished, as in it almost never happened.
Yeah.
And it was reflected by my phone. I had to hire a whole phone team to take the calls for orders because orders came in through fax broadcast. We fax broadcast all the military bases, and they loved it. They wanted that because I had T-shirts with Osama bin Laden being chased by the devil with a pitchfork, and and he's running with his beard, and they're stabbing him in the buttocks, and those sold very well until they didn't anymore. Everything stopped. Nobody was interested because it was no longer interesting. If it's no longer interesting, people will not pull out their credit cards.
Yes.
That's when you know it's over.
Yeah.
Follow the money cycle.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So, current affairs, trending topics, and jockeying on the news.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Piggybacking. Yeah, newsjacking, they call it.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I hope the listeners appreciate it as well, because those are good tips.
Can I give one more?
Yes, sir.
Follow a media calendar.
Okay.
What I'll do, Rosemarie, is I'll give you my media calendar, which you can share with your listeners. We'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
But it'll give them the media calendar. It's U.S. based, but it gives all the holidays for the year and what the media is looking for in terms of content related to a media calendar. If you have anything related to Mother's Day, anything against the 4th of July, back to school, Halloween, the holidays. Yeah, I had a whole group of ladies that came out, I think it was April, it might have been March or April, for Black Women's History Month. Didn't even know it existed, but it does. And I was able to get them on the news with that. Also,
Wow.
write a book because you have a unique thumbprint if you're an author. It's
Yeah.
easier to get you on the news if you've written a new book.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate that. So, what is Mitch grateful for today?
Oh, gosh. I'm grateful for my continued health and recovery because in December of last year, I experienced a heart attack and had to have
Mm.
a couple of stents put in. And that gave me also a reset on life. I've lost quite a bit of weight and I got a little bit more to go, maybe quite a bit. But I was pudgy, was eating and irresponsibly, not taking care of myself. Thought I was forever young, and what I had become was old and forever old. But I can be younger by eating well and embracing health and celebrating life for what it is today. It reminded me, Rosemary, about how finite the amount of time that we are blessed to be on this earth. What happens next is probably another podcast experience. Who knows? But while
Yeah.
I'm here, I'm living the best life possible for Mitch.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you sharing that with us, and I'm glad you're on your way to recovery.
I am.
And yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mitch Carson, for coming and speaking to us today. Any parting shots, especially for podcasters?
Yeah, podcasters, uh, leverage your platform, post it everywhere. Use it if you want coverage in a big publication of Forbes, Entrepreneur, Fast Company, any of those big business publications. Start with podcasting. It's an easy way to create some content. Write an article related to your coverage or start your own podcast. Be a guest is also a vehicle, or be a podcast host. Use those as articles to talk about what you've done or an interesting guest, and you can submit them. The key is never stop with publicity. Never stop. People say to me, well, I got on TV. Good. Leverage it to get into more. Do more. Get greedy about it. Continue
Okay.
to publicize yourself. Why? Because your competition won't be doing it. You'll always be ahead of them. And they
Yeah.
won't even know how to bite at your butt because your butt will not be in view. It'll be so far away, they'll just see a shadow of your butt. Because if your butt is sitting there and it's smackable, they're going to hit it. So you
Yeah.
keep pushing. So you think, like, what happened? They've got all the publicity, all the business. Keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. And we can get in touch with you through the link you're going to share with us.
Yes.
Okay.
Getinterviewedguaranteed.com/meet with Mitch. I
Okay.
provide that in
Awesome.
the show notes, I presume.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you,
All
Mitch
right. Thank you.
Carson. I appreciate you.